by grade level. All the bids for that grade level will be there, so you have to do it for each one. Again, all the bid information is repeated as the headers for all of the pages. So you have a box for strengths, areas of concern, and overall comments. This is the page that will show, this is the new page that will populate into the final report. So we wanted to make sure, again, for uniformity and ease of reading for state board members or any other persons who would look at the final report. Of course, as commissioners, you know when you're writing the final report, your intentions behind your comments. Non-educators sometimes don't really understand our lingo and may be a little bit confused. So what Karen and I did, we looked at all the reports from last year. Some were very lengthy, some were very concise. So we wanted to look at the ones that actually were very concise and communicated the thoughts and the rationale for the votes. And Commissioner Arnold and Commissioner Linker were the two that we kind of settled upon. We use as kind of like a guide to say, okay, it's short and sweet, it's to the point. You understood why they voted the way that they did or they made the decision. Not to say that anyone else didn't, but that was just kind of when we were looking at how we're structuring this template. How can we make sure that we're giving people enough time, enough space actually to capture their thoughts. And I'm pretty sure that we will have a large number of bids this year as compared to last year. So definitely wanted to keep that in mind as well. So for strengths, this entire page has a maximum of 600 word count. So for about 200 words we were thinking about 200 words for strengths, the same for areas of concern, and then for your overall comments about 600 words. And the text boxes can be resized to accommodate your text as well.
This is Commissioner Arnold. So in the commissioner criteria evaluation, anything we put there does not go into the final report, only what we put in the new link.
Yes. So you can actually copy and paste from the commissioner notes into this page, if you like.
Okay.
So we were just trying to figure out how to make it just a little more streamlined, a little more uniform, so that, one, it wouldn't be such a large document for people to actually read, and just to basically give just the meat of.
So it's not necessary to do both.
Right.
You could just type into your strengths, weaknesses, and overall comments. Okay.
Because we were actually going to take away the first page, but recognizing that everyone actually captures their notes differently, so we didn't want to take that away.
Right.
You know, so whatever method is best for you. And once you can save and finish, click save and finish later if you need to revisit other notes, or if you just need to stop and return to it. Also, when you are ready to complete your final report, if you see that you need to make edits, this is the page that you'll return to, like with that other page before, to make your edits. And once you click submit, it'll update it in the final report.
Commissioner Linker.
Yes.
So when we hit submit, if it's by accident, is there going to be permanent? Because I know at the end it is. So can we not have the so maybe submit shouldn't be live until when we get to our deliberations?
I will check with Karen to see, but it won't hurt if you submit it, because
It won't? Okay.
what happens is the process, and we're going to talk about the process for the final report to make sure that we're like absolutely
That's
clear
when
on
you
that.
can't get back once you
Right.
hit it. All right, got it.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see me hitting submit instead of save,
No, but
and
you're
it's
fine.
gone.
Because Karen can see all of the data that's entered. So even if you click submit and you need something changed, Karen is able to say, okay, what needs to be done, and we can rectify it. So definitely, which is a good lead into
The
the final report. So you can either click save and finish later or submit. You're still able to return to this page as often as you need to. So this is the final report. It will have all of the bid information, all of the textbook information from kindergarten through 12th grade. It'll show if there were any reconsideration votes, notes, if necessary, and the final recommendations from your voting. And this, in the notes and comments section, this is how it'll be formatted, when you actually submit from the previous page. If you find when reviewing that you need to make an edit, you'll go back to that page, make your edit. You can either save and finish later or submit. I suggest just refreshing the final notes page, just to make sure it should automatically populate, but just as a precautionary measure, just refresh. Once everything is the way you desire it to be, because it will be a lengthy document, the green section is very important. We want to make sure that everyone completes this before leaving on the very last day. It will be a long week, it will be tiring, and you know that you'll be ready to get back to your families and get back to your own bids. So we just want to make sure that you complete 3 steps. That the first step is to check the box saying that you certify that your recommendations on the page are accurate to the best of your knowledge. Then provide us your electronic signature by typing in your name. And the very final step is to click the final report button. So we have a fail-safe here. When you click submit final report, if you have not checked the box and provided your signature, you will see this alert. And it'll remind you to enter your name and check the box to verify your final report. You will not be able to go any further until you do that. And I'm just gonna do that while we're sitting. The important thing to remember is to make sure that this is really what you want for your final report, because once you click submit final report, it's done. There's no turning back.
There's no error message that pops up that says, are you really, really sure this is what you want? Just wait for it, wait for the big fish.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir. So this is your final reminder. Just like, are you sure you're ready to submit your final report? You will not be able to access the online system after submitting. It tells you to click yes to submit or click cancel to review ahead. And Commissioner Linker, I laughed with Dr. Fair when we were kind of talking through this process. I think you were the first one to complete your review last year. She gave like a woo-hoo, I got the message. So once you do that, you're done.
A good thing to point out too is like when you submit, yes, you're done. Like you lose all access to the platform.
Right. Everything is deactivated.
Everything's gone.
Right, I know that.
So you
know
can't
that's been
see
discussed
notes
before,
or anything.
and that
It's
was
all
part of the
gone.
meeting,
Yeah.
so
Yes, sir.
A blinding flash of the obvious. My next question, actually to you, ma'am, Commissioner Linker. I know there was discussion today of a certain number of commissioners per certain cluster of grades as we're covering down different rooms.
Yeah.
Is the expectation for all commissioners to review
Every-
all grades and all documents?
Yes.
Is there a rotation schedule in place for commissioners, or is it even pertinent to do
Well,
that?
you don't
to
need
cover
to
that
because we have
class?
about 3 weeks from. So this process for us is in August, our August meeting. July, when we are at Embassy Suites with the advisors. I mean, you can pop in and out if you want to, like see the other rooms, but you'll have in about 2 weeks. Not quite 3 from the time we leave Greensboro the first time for evaluation week until we come back to, I think might be Embassy Suites, but I'm not sure, in August, which is when our final report's due. And that's when we talk about it. So when we have our, what we call our debrief and our reconsideration meeting, which is 2 days, the second day is for reconsiderations if we have any. you kind of like know what you feel about the stuff coming in. You've already done your preliminary work, but as a commission, because it is deliberation, we discuss and then we vote for each submission, all K-12.
Any reconsiderations
Mm-hmm.
that we see on these pages are coming from our advisors.
No.
No.
Us. If as a commission we vote and the majority does not vote in favor of recommending a select bid, then the publisher has the opportunity to request a reconsideration, which they come back to the commission, that the publishers have the opportunity to address the commission to try to show maybe where they feel like what we said wasn't there was. So they try to convince us to provide them further information, and then we do the reconsideration vote.
I understand.
Does that help?
If I may answer, I also look at I'm Commissioner Morrison, I also look at the samples that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So after you have the week there, and then you have the teachers also talking about, the advisors talking about what you have, and you have your samples back at your place. That's why you have your samples as well. So you have you can take what your advisors say, with the samples that you have back where you are, and if you have any questions, you pick up that sample, you're looking at it, and then you have that time as well built in before you get there, and then after you leave there, built in to kind of judge if any of the questions you may have. So you have the advisors, you have that time to go from room to room, you have your samples. So you have different coming from different directions, but I always fall back on, let me look at it, let me look back on my samples and what I know about the textbooks. And
Extremely helpful, thank you.
This is Commissioner Arnold. Ultimately, it falls back on us. Our advisors are simply advising us, but we are ultimately responsible for evaluating every single submission
I understand.
and all the pieces. So, you do get a good opportunity the week of, but you really have to scour through those boxes. So.
And also as a reminder, I was just talking with Dr. Blair, the deliberations, initial votes, and reconsideration links will be deactivated during that meeting. So these two items are what you will discuss on the August meeting, the second meeting. So primarily, you'll be looking at the links for the grade level reviews, and then the commissioner criteria review, and you'll have access to that.
So just to be perfectly clear, come July 13th or whatever that last day is,
Mm-hmm.
really the only tab that's going to be filled out, and I'm sure multiple tabs will be discussed, but it's that first tab entitled Advisors, Standards, and Reviews. That should be complete.
Mhm.
The criteria review should be complete.
And when it's time for the, yes,
All three of these tabs should be, obviously, just that is displayed differently in different tabs, I understand that. But the reconsiderations is not gonna be available till August.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Pretty much everything, the last 4 links will be deactivated until the August meeting.
So, as a publisher, they will not see a request for reconsideration or show me the money kind of conversation till August. If I'm making sense. Because the first time we see the data
Right,
will
this
be in
without-
July.
Yes, sir.
Right, because you
Through our
won't even
advisors.
vote until.
Yeah.
That's when you vote, and,
Yeah.
those publishers who are interested in being there and hearing the vote, in the event that there is a need for reconsideration, they must be present. So they will be in the room and will be projecting on the day of the deliberations, and that's when they'll see it. But prior to that time, you'll just be doing your own reviews and evaluations, and then the voting will occur on that first day when we get together in August.
I understand.
Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Can I make a suggestion? The notes and comments for final report, I'd like to have that open before, because I start getting into my stuff when the samples come. And if that's where I can, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, the vote, I agree, the two about the votings do not need to be up, and the final report doesn't need to be active, but I'd like to have access to the notes and comments for final report.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
And just so you know, with the notes page, the commissioner criteria review and notes page, when you click save and finish later or submit, we actually have that information in our database, so it's not lost, like if for whatever reason you need some information, you can actually click. It just doesn't populate into the file.
That's the Commissioner Lincoln, that's the optional one, yes.
And then, that's it.
Thank
Are there
you.
any other questions?
I'd like to, again, thank you and your team for your work, because it was perfect last year, and it's even better this year if that was possible. But I also like having the ability to still take notes, because some of us do take notes outside of the reports. So it is nice to have that option for the people, myself, who take notes while we're debriefing and then do my own. So thank you for both options, for having the option to do the both, or I'd have to make my own form.
And really, considering this is a K-12 adoption as opposed to the K-8 from last year, we knew that there would be a considerable amount of data that you would all have to capture this year as opposed to years prior. And we wanted to make sure that we did make it a little easier for you. We didn't want to make it very cumbersome. So thank you again. We're excited. We're looking forward to it.
Does anyone have any questions? Anybody online? I see 2 hands raised. I see Commissioner Flowers and Commissioner Hester's hand raised.
Commissioner Flowers and Commissioner Hester, did you all have questions for the room?
This is Commissioner Flowers. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Hester, I'm sorry I popped on a minute late. What was due May 17th?
Your classroom and dates that you will be attending.
Can you where will that be located? Where are we supposed to let you know when we're available?
Dr. Fair is going to, I think there's some communications that's
From- okay.
Send you the link to the Google form, and on the Google form, you just indicate the day and time that you're available to do additional training. I tried to,
Oh, okay.
kind of like what we did last year, because by that time
Yeah.
you'll have your samples.
I
So
think it's
you'll have a
just-
better idea of
Yeah, that's
questions
not the right
that you may have going through, especially for the new commissioners.
not
You want
come
to
yet.
make sure that you're more comfortable going into the evaluation.
And so for clarification,
Okay, awesome.
that's
Thank you
coming.
so much.
You're welcome.
For clarification, so that form is coming.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not sure also Commissioner Hester, but there's a separate Google form that's from me that is the time and room preferences that I sent Dr. Fair the link, and it will also be coming out. Oh, actually, it's on the email that we got from Dr. Fair at 12:20. On that email, it says the link for the form to indicate your room assignment preference. Click here, and that'll take you to the other Google form that's for me, not for TOPS. So there's 2 Google forms coming, one for me and then one for TOPS for training.
So you should already have the one
Mhm.
from Commissioner Linker in the email that I sent earlier, right after lunch, that also had the platform information in it. So that one just says click here. But if you need me to resend it, let me know so that you'll have it. Commissioner Linker, when are you asking for that to be complete?
I didn't ask. Let's see. Everyone has access to it. Let's make it. Let's have it by the same date that the advisor things. That way you only have one date to remember. Which was. Let me go back to my slides and see that.
May 13th.
May 13th. So if we'd have the Google form for preferences by May 13th, that gives you a little time to work on that. I know everyone's getting ready to enjoy a little time off, hopefully. I also uploaded to the folder. I made a PDF because I couldn't figure out how to get the actual Google slide there. Of updated Google slide, the slides where I added another slide that has the EC and EL spelled out. So in our folder, there is a PDF file that says Advisor Update and Evaluation Week Revised. It's a PDF. I put it there, and I deleted the old one out of the folder that I didn't have to change that extra folder on file on.
I say that again, I apologize.
And the April 17th folder in Google. I uploaded, it's a PDF form of the Google slide for the two parts that we did first thing this morning, where I added a slide that spelled out the EC and the EL changes. So if you look in that, it's all spelled out. And when I put that in, so we wouldn't be confused, I took out the slides that Dr. Fair had put up previously before we broke for lunch. So the PDF version is everything that was before with an additional slide that kind of clarifies the EC and the EL part. So everyone have it in one place. Yes, ma'am.
Once we have entered all of the bid information and completed the, platform, prior to the June trainings, we'll have your logins ready. Everyone will have their own unique logins. How do you, is there a preference for receiving your login information? Do you have a preference? Would you like an email from myself or email from Dr. Fair, or you just wanna make sure we are secure and?
I think if, for logistics, I don't want to speak for Dr. Fair, but if you guys could handle it, would be great. Then that's one less thing that, since you would be sending it to her, if you can do that, that would be wonderful.
Okay,
Is there any way that we can keep our logins that we had last time?
I will check.
If not, that's okay. But I know I had problems accessing, I think it was EVOS, because it remembered that login on my computer and not my EVOS. So I had to have the testing coordinator for my district go in and do something on the EVOS so I could see it. So now they're both okay, but
Okay, I will double check to make sure. I'll let you know. I'll email you.
okay, that'd be great. Gosh, you did all that at the beginning. One major, we did all the dates at one time.
Just trying to find it.
So I think if no one has any questions, then we're all good with the TOPS training.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you.
Yes. And talking to you in June.
And you will receive individual emails from me with your passwords.
Thank you.
So the next part of the agenda is like this closure, final comments. If you have not indicated, and I think if I remember correctly, and it's been a while, we were to indicate at one time if we could come to different meetings and if we needed accommodations. I don't remember if evaluation week was on there, to be honest. And we might need to make sure that we let Dr. Fair know that we need accommodations. And again, if you're within 35 miles of the Embassy Suites, then you would have accommodations there on site. So I will talk to Dr. Fair, and if it hasn't already been asked, I'll ask. If it has already been asked, I'll ask if she can resend it. Because I don't know about y'all, but I have a lot of emails.
I know.
Things get buried.
Mm-hmm.
And it coming from two different possible sources.
I wanna say there was one.
Was it?
But it did not include the 7th, and
That's
that's
what I
what
thought.
Oh,
it
coming in
started
on the
with
7th.
8th, And I
Yes.
think that was the question that we had at the last
Yeah.
meeting, was could it include the 7th since we've got it
Yes,
covered right
and it
before?
would include the 7th.
And that's what I was thinking. I didn't know if I put that in.
Yeah, cause I know the 7th wasn't on there.
And I can actually go into the form that I made and make a thing that says, are you coming in the night before? And then I'll be there. Then I will get with Dr. Farah and have her send something else out, because I know that form closed.
Yeah, it was like one of the very first.
Yeah, and it was like one of the first things we did, because she tried to get it all in one document, so she wouldn't have to go through several different forms to get to them, so. Okay. So does anyone else have any general comments, concerns?
Just to be clear, ma'am, cause I know this is the last time we see each other
Mhm.
before July. So, we don't have to get a hold of the airport, hotel,
Nope.
they got all.
This is this time, and when we do in August, EPI will handle our accommodations for both things.
So just so that you know and you can feel comfort about it, I will be, when I send out an email, the email will contain like a Google form for you all to let me know which nights you're gonna stay, if you can stay, what nights you're gonna stay, and some other information for me to confirm some things with the hotel.
Yes, ma'am.
And that information will be used, we'll have room blocks for you all as well as the teachers, so nobody's having to come out of their pocket for any of the hotel costs. We'll take care of it direct bill, so you shouldn't even have to do anything other than, like she said, use your credit card for incidentals and anything that you may do. But as far as your lodging itself, we'll direct bill that to the agency, so we'll cover it. And all you'll do, I'll have the rooming list and everything, once I get the information in the Google form, and all you'll do is show up and give them your name, and they'll give you a room number. We'll have all of that figured out before you even get there.
Matt, do you know, I know you've got a lot of historical data on the Google Drive already, and I just haven't culled through it, so please forgive my ignorance, but is there a daily agenda that we can look at from last year? Is there something that is,
We're gonna make the agenda. We should probably be doing that very shortly, because a lot of times we just kind of wait for all the information to come in terms of the bids and things like that. And we're also in the process of talking with the content area team to see who can come in, if people have to do virtual. And so now that we're having those conversations and getting that information, we'll be able to go back and put the agenda together. I can share last year's agenda in the folder if anybody wants to see it, but I don't want anybody to get confused since we're getting ready to do the new one.
and I
We'll just
understand
put
it's
it
not
there.
gonna be etched in stone and the past is the past, but just to, I mean, just to give me a feel of just kind of, hey, we have meetings twice, 3 times a day, that's even, you know, or is that?
Okay, so
or
it
is
doesn't
just kind of
capture that.
seat of the pants as things pop up, we're putting fires out, you know, I mean,
It doesn't capture that level of detail in terms of like the exact times for debriefing. I think it has on there that you'll debrief at the end of whatever day for this or at the end of whatever day for that. There may be a time, I can't remember right now.
It just has when you have morning
Just the
morning
evaluations. in the
evaluations,
rooms.
lunch,
Mhm.
afternoon
Yeah, it's very
evaluations.
general.
Yeah, so the one that's in the slides, the only more update would be the specific time that the trainings are, because we hadn't, the logistics of that part. But like, you know, from 9 to 12, that's set, that's an invitation. Sometime in the afternoon, there'll be some training, and we will have specific times for that. We'll be done before 5. So you'll have dinner and then Monday and mornings we start, and it'll be on, I think we start 8 to 5 with an hour, when we have an hour lunch. Like, we will clear the room and close the doors, but that'll be in it. But it's pretty general, because it's not an official meeting. We don't have quorum, we don't vote, we're not making decisions. So it's not like an agenda for this meeting, but you will know that, you know, from 8 to 5 will be evaluation in the rooms, will be open because they're locked the rest of the time. They'll be closed and locked for lunch. So from 8 to 12 they'll be open, or 8 to 11:30, and then from, 12:30 to 1 to 5. And when the commission eats lunch, we'll be on it. So it was like that. And then it'll say on the second to the last day, debriefings that afternoon, but we won't know times until we're in it to know. But we'll know as a commission, because we eat lunch together, so that we can say, well, it looks like this room's such and such, we may be done, that kind of conversation.
So it will have on there the times that their advisors are there, and basically you just walk around, kind of ask, the advisors are asking you questions, and you're just basically in there monitoring. And so it will have those times on there.
Yes.
And that basically that's what you're doing, is in there monitoring and watching them, they're making sure they're not coming to a consensus, because it's their own thoughts. And so you're making sure that they're staying focused on their own thoughts and not getting together as a group.
So there should not be a lot of discussion.
There are going to be some,
Okay.
you know, because they're colleagues,
Right.
but they shouldn't be coming to a consensus
Right.
And by
because we want
nature,
their
they
own
talk.
opinion.
The discussion is good,
Yeah. Yeah, a good discussion, but not,
To the point where like, yes, we want this, no, we don't.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
yeah, so.
And we really try to encourage them to keep their biases out of it,
Yeah.
through that training that DPI provides.
And they'll go through, then that's the training they go through. And so, but yeah, I think I even have if you have an old copy,
I do.
so that's what it'll tell you, just the kind of shell.
I have an old one, but what I can do is, because I don't want to rush Commissioner Linker, and I know we have to finish thinking through like the number of people we'll have and all of that. But what I can do is I can take it and kind of update it generally for this time, so that you can get an idea of what that might look like. Like you said, knowing that it's a draft and that another version is going to come out when we have more specifics and more detail.
That would work, I
Okay,
think.
I can do that.
That may be clearer than to give you something that's totally different.
Yes,
than-
ma'am, even
yeah.
if it's just best practices, hey,
Yeah.
at this point, this is what we found that we wound up doing and it worked really, really well, or hey, this is, just to get a feel for it.
Okay.
Please don't go out of your way and.
Oh, no, I'm gonna, cause I'm gonna create another folder for that week and also for, the August meeting, so July and August, I'll have folders in there. And I'll just start dropping stuff in there, so since you've requested, to see what that might look like, I'll create that and go ahead and put that in there. And then other things as we get them and develop them and all that, they'll go in there, so.
Thank you.
Basically, Monday and Friday is pretty specific, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is more of a relaxed, you're in there just kind of helping, and, like if you need to step out for a meeting, you can do that as long as your commissioner buddy in the room has the room
Yes, ma'am.
to answer questions, so forth.
Anything else? Thank you, it was a good question.
That answers my question,
Is that out? Okay,
motion to close? Is
yes,
that what we're doing?
yep.
Commissioner Cheshire, motion to close.
A second.
All right, so Commissioner Cheshire made the motion to adjourn the meeting. Commissioner Morrison seconded. All in favor say aye. Online, if you'll raise your virtual hand. Sounds funny. And all opposed? Can you check real quick? I think everybody probably raised their hand.
I'm sure no one wants to stay.
I just see a couple of hands, some more popping up.
I need 3 hands. Give me 3 hands and we're done.
We had 3 and 4.
All right, we're good. So meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Safe travels.
Are you heading to the mountains then?
Yes, I am.
I hope you don't get sick.
Oh,